In the fourth year of my marriage to the man who had once been my greatest rival, fate played a twisted joke. Liam got into a car accident, and when he woke up, he had forgotten everything. His memories stopped right before the day we got married. When he saw the wedding ring on my finger, he narrowed his eyes and spoke in his usual infuriating tone. Who was unlucky enough to end up marrying you? I looked at the bandage wrapped around his head and thought, Buddy, if I tell you it was you, I'm genuinely afraid you'll pass out again. So instead, I said, Don't stress about it. It's not you anyway. When did you even get married? He asked. 4 years ago. He frowned. What was I doing at the time? I smiled sweetly. You gave me a big red wedding envelope. He lowered his gaze, the disbelief so thick it nearly took physical form. That's impossible. Even with half his memories gone, this man's instincts were annoyingly sharp. The Liam from back then would have sooner sabotaged my wedding than gift me anything. If he could have slipped laxatives into the banquet food and laughed as chaos unfolded, he absolutely would have. He stared into empty space, dazed, and before I could think twice, I reached out and pinched his cheek. Come on, let's go home. Home? His eyes flickered with a fragile sort of hope. I quickly constructed a perfect lie. Your West family went bankrupt. Now you work for me. For the first time in his life, the proud young master Liam West, born with a silver spoon and a golden halo, looked utterly shattered. But a lie had been spun, so there was no backing out. Before bringing him back, I had already arranged everything. The servants had their lines memorized, and his parents agreed to cooperate so he wouldn't worry about the company during recovery. So when he called home from the car, desperate for reassurance, and his parents told him, Son, the family really is bankrupt. He slowly lowered the phone, his eyes turning faintly red. The golden boy of fate, the genius everyone admired, reduced to nothing. After a long silence, he finally asked, voice rough, So, what do I do at your place? A lot, I replied. Laundry, cooking, serving tea, pouring water. Oh, and washing my feet. His profile stiffened, and he turned toward the window. The icy lines of his face were shadowed by helplessness, making him look strangely delicate. Anyone else would have said, What a pitiful little sweetheart. Inside, I was laughing so hard I nearly choked, but outside, I kept my expression calm and noble. You have to understand, Liam had always been an arrogant, ridiculously gifted prodigy, a man who walked through life as if blessed by the heavens themselves. I once told someone the only time I'd ever see Liam cry over me would be at my funeral. When that rumor reached him, he lazily replied, You're overthinking it. At your funeral, I'd only show up to light firecrackers. So seeing him this fragile now, absolutely delicious. I held back my laughter all the way home. Once there, I headed straight to the study to handle the mountain of documents waiting for me. But when I later walked into my bedroom, I froze. Liam stood in the middle of the room, staring blankly at a basin of foot washing water. In his hand were his pajamas. A jolt ran through me. This man had emotional attachment to exactly one set of pajamas, from college till our 4th year of marriage. One set. He turned to look at me, confusion flickering across his eyes. Why aren't you married? Why are my things in your room? I stepped closer, grabbed the front of his collar, and leaned in. His ears instantly turned red. He panicked and looked away. Why are you doing that? My fingers lightly traced the firm lines of his chest, teasing. After I got married, my husband was always overseas. Nights get lonely. I needed someone to help take care of my physical needs. He froze, stunned. So, I'm your side piece. Or should I say, your playbank? I opened my mouth to correct him, but then his eyes lowered, dark with quiet hurt. Being a plaything is fine too. For a moment, I wondered if I'd pushed him too far. A proud man wakes up with no memories, finds himself a servant, and then learns he's also someone's secret lover? It was a lot. But the next second, he grabbed me and pulled me tightly into his arms. He kissed me with fierce, reckless intensity, like a man who had nothing left to lose and no intention of holding back. His lips were hungry, urgent, claiming. Despite losing his memory, he certainly hadn't forgotten how to overwhelm a person with passion. He had been in the hospital for half a month. I had also been untouched for half a month. Sparks ignited instantly. We tumbled onto the bed in a breathless blur, his touch heated, his presence overpowering, but intoxicating instead of crude. His movements were intense, demanding, consuming me again and again toward surrender. In the moonlight, his eyes were deep, burning with desire and an almost desperate need to be chosen. He brushed his lips against my ear, voice low and rough. "Do you like it?" "Yes, just slow down a little." "Compared to your husband, who's better?" His breath was hot, his tone edged with jealousy, insisting on an answer. I was dazed, thinking, why is this man fighting a rival he doesn't even remember he is? Later, as sleep pulled me in, someone wrapped their arms around me, and out of pure habit, I turned into his chest, nestling closer. I murmured, half asleep, "Honey." The body beside me went still. When morning came, I reached out automatically, only to touch cold sheets. Panic shot through me. But then I spotted him downstairs, moving around the dining table, and relief washed over me. Habits really are terrifying. When I sat down, he remained standing with the other servants. I grabbed his wrist and tugged him toward the chair beside me. "Sit. After working all night, aren't you hungry?" Teasing him was second nature. Looking awkward, he finally sat down. Halfway through the meal, he hesitated, then asked in a low, troubled voice, "Your husband, is his name Oliver Tyler?" I nearly spat out my milk. The devastation on his face said everything. Apparently, Oliver had left a permanent scar somewhere in his memory. Strictly speaking, Oliver was my first love. Back in college, he was the senior responsible for welcoming new students. Liam, on the other hand, was the standard everyone used to compare me to since childhood, my eternal rival. We'd once fought over who got to be the emperor during a childhood game, and that fight started a lifelong feud. And unfortunately, our life paths overlapped endlessly. Whether I looked up or down, he was always there. I pursued piano, his family bought a Steinway. I started oil painting, he learned sketching. I said I wanted University A, he claimed he'd go to University B. He still showed up at my university with a score 30 points higher than mine. I said he was a haunting ghost. He said we were enemies destined to clash. Once we started college, the crowd swallowed me, but when I turned back, Liam's tall frame still stood out like a glowing spotlight. I opened my mouth to call him when a blushing girl rushed up to him asking for his WeChat. Sunlight struck his eyes, turning them golden. My words froze. I turned away, unaware if he accepted her or not. And that's when I met Oliver. He smiled gently and asked, "Hey, freshman, what's your major? Which class?" Liam was lightning. Oliver was a warm breeze. Later, during a club outing at an amusement park, I challenged him to an archery game. Plush toys were the prizes. I told him confidently he wouldn't win as many as I would. But when night fell and the breeze softened everyone's edges, he just smiled and said, "Of course you'll win. I'm giving all my prizes to you." I had never known someone who would surrender so easily just because I wished it. That night, I confessed. He agreed. Oliver was the perfect boyfriend. Thoughtful, gentle, attentive, even when busy with his research. He never missed a date and always brought my favorite flowers. If things hadn't unfolded the way they did later, maybe Liam and I would never have ended up together. That thought made me glance sideways at him. My hesitation must have looked like silent confirmation. Liam didn't wait for me to deny anything. After a long pause, he murmured, almost too quietly, "Got it." I was so used to seeing him arrogant, radiant, and impossible to tame. Seeing him now, head bowed slightly like a scolded husband, made my heart soften without warning. "Actually, I get it," he added, voice strained. "I'm just the side piece. I don't have the right to say anything." He tilted his chin up stubbornly, eyes fixed on the ceiling at a perfect 90-degree angle, refusing to blink. His adaptability truly was terrifying. Give him one ridiculous scenario and he'd adjust faster than a chameleon. And speaking of old ghosts, Oliver really did come back from overseas soon after. Within a week, he walked into my office with a calm confidence that showed just how much he'd grown. Gone was the gentle boy from college. He had turned into a steady, polished man. He lifted his coffee, voice warm as always. "Shiva Keller, I've always felt I owe you an apology." Back then, when Oliver had decided to go abroad, I told him I would follow. That was one of the few times he had taken my hand with a serious expression. "Shiva," he said softly, "I don't want your life derailed for my sake. I can't let you give up everything just to follow me." "Why can't I go with you, but Linda can?" I had snapped. "You two practically live in the lab together. How is that fair?" He shook his head. "Because she was always meant to take that path. You weren't. Don't make such a big decision for me. I can't carry that weight." Back then, all or nothing stubbornness was my personality. "Either I go with you," I said, "or we end it." And so we ended. He crossed the ocean with the girl who shared his dreams, and I stayed behind with my pride and heartbreak. For years, I'd thought Oliver must have fallen out of love with me. But with time, the truth matured inside me. Sometimes love fails not because it fades, but because it's too heavy for one person to carry alone. "I don't blame you," I said with a small smile now. "I was the immature one." He looked at me, eyes softening. "Have you been doing well all these years?" I nodded. His gaze flickered to my wedding ring. "I mean, are you happy?" I thought of a certain someone curled up in my bed last night whispering bitterly, "Right, I'm just the side piece who can't see the light of day." The memory made me laugh. "Yes," I said gently, "very happy." A shadow of disappointment flashed across Oliver's face. Barely there, but undeniably real. After a long silence, he said, "I found out you were going to have a flash marriage just 2 months after we broke up. I almost came back for you." His gaze lifted, sharp and searching. "But I was too late. I always felt I pushed you into a decision you weren't ready for. Maybe," he hesitated, "maybe things can still be set right." The words rattled me so badly I knocked over my coffee. The hot liquid splashed across my hand, making me wince. Oliver immediately stood, taking my hand gently. At that moment, the door creaked. Through the gap, a familiar, heartbreakingly handsome face appeared. Perfect timing. My unlucky, amnesiac husband. From where he stood, all he saw was Oliver holding my hand, both of us staring at each other with misty eyes. His eyes reddened instantly, lips pressed too tightly. He looked like a small, fragile animal trying not to cry. In his mind, this must have been the dramatic scene where the rightful spouse returns. The side piece, him, is caught red-handed, and he has no choice but to bow his head and slink away. His voice cracked. "Sorry to interrupt." Then he turned and walked away. "Liam!" I quickly pulled my hand from Oliver's and ran after him. His legs were long, my heels were not. By the time I caught him near the elevator, half the office was pretending not to watch us, well, obviously watching everything. I grabbed his wrist. "Liam, listen!" The rest of my words evaporated. His red-rimmed eyes and wounded expression hit me right in the soul. My irritation melted instantly. I cupped his face. "Hey, who bullied you like this? He brushed my hands away. "Your husband is back," he said hoarsely. "I'm leaving." "No, absolutely not." I wanted to blurt out the truth. "You're my damned husband." But the words stuck. As much fun as it was watching him act soft and pitiful, actually seeing him hurt made my chest ache. "Actually, Liam, you... long time no see." Oliver appeared at that exact moment. He extended his hand toward Liam. Liam looked at it, and in a single heartbeat, all traces of vulnerability vanished. His spine straightened. Cold pride enveloped him again. Even a side piece had dignity, apparently. He shook Oliver's hand firmly. Long time no see, senior. It looked polite, but Liam's grip tightened so much his knuckles turned white. Oliver blinked in confusion. 4 years had passed since we broke up? Why did this man look ready to strangle him? Still, Oliver politely invited us to lunch. So the three of us, me, my ex, and my husband who thinks he's my side piece, sat together in painful, suffocating awkwardness. Back in college, after I started dating Oliver, I barely saw Liam anymore. I ran into him once at home. He was leaning against his car, smoking. I had never known him to smoke. Do you really like him that much? In what way am I worse than he is? In every way, I snapped. Moonlight washed over him, softening the sharpness of his features, making him look painfully lonely. He just answered, then got in his car and drove off. After that, we rarely crossed paths. I truly thought that even enemies would eventually drift apart. Turns out, they do. Back at the restaurant, I let Oliver order first. After he named a few dishes, Liam's expression darkened. You don't know she doesn't like spicy food anymore. Oliver paused mid-order. I wasn't aware. So you never actually cared about her. Even Oliver, polished, tactful Oliver, looked genuinely stunned. In his mind, he must have thought, I'm her ex. Why is her husband lecturing me about this? But Liam only grew colder, as if every word meant, why did someone who cared so little about me get to marry me? Oliver cleared his throat. I've been overseas. I led a team abroad. Liam leaned in slightly. In your heart, what's more important, your work or her? I nearly choked. What was this interrogation? Oliver stuttered. Well, do you know what she's been going through all these years? I blinked. What had I been going through? Oh, right. In his mind, I was the poor wife abandoned for years, a lonely figure forced to pick up a side piece to warm her empty bed. Yeah, okay, that did sound tragic. Oliver was even more confused. I don't really know. I'm sorry. Before Liam could continue humiliating both of us, I hurriedly picked up food and placed it in his bowl, hoping to shut him up. But he stared at me thoughtfully. Something clicked in his mind. A spark lit in his eyes. I stiffened. Oh no, that spark never was good. Then he said slowly, clearly, which is why you're destined to lose her. Oliver froze. Liam leaned back, confidence radiating off him. Compared to you, she cares about me now. And just like that, I understood. This wasn't the confidence of a husband. It was the bold, shameless confidence of a side piece rising up to challenge the main. Liam kept fussing over me, refilling my water, picking out food, and placing it gently into my bowl, even leaning in to dab at the corner of my lips like we were the most inseparable married couple in the world. Oliver watched the two of us quietly. Calm on the surface, but I could tell he probably thought Liam had completely lost it. Because, honestly, we did look ridiculous. After dinner, Liam went to get the car, and Oliver turned to me. I used to worry, he said softly, that after our breakup, you married him too quickly, that maybe you weren't truly happy. He looked at me, steady, warm. But seeing you two together, you seem to be doing well. I smiled lightly. He's been sick recently, so he's a bit different, but we really are doing well. Oliver's lips curved with a bittersweet softness. Shiva, ever since I returned, I've been conflicted, afraid you'd be unhappy, but also afraid you'd be too happy. He dropped his gaze. But now that I've seen it with my own eyes, I think, if you're happy, then I can be happy for you. That small ache in his voice, I pretended not to hear it. I just waved with a smile. As you wished, Oliver. I didn't change my life because of you. We both ended up on better paths. When we got into the car, Liam finally relaxed a little once he saw Oliver wasn't joining us, only for irritation to spark immediately after. He comes back to the country and doesn't even come home to accompany you? He muttered. I nodded, amused. Liam frowned harder. What do you even want a husband like that for? There was something on the tip of my tongue. Something I wasn't sure I should say. But before I could think about it properly, the moment we got through the door, he grabbed me and pushed me gently onto the bed. A storm of desperate kisses rained down, his voice muffled against my lips, thick with frustration and jealousy. What do you even like about him? Why won't you divorce him? I actually paused to think before answering. Because he doesn't compete with me over everything, unlike a certain someone who can't stand losing. His movements rose for a heartbeat, those beautiful eyes dimmed with hurt, and then in a voice so soft it punched the air out of my lungs, he whispered, "Then I won't compete anymore. Isn't that enough?" 20 years. Never, not once had I imagined Liam saying something like that, in a tone like that. Amnesia was unexpectedly miraculous. He avoided my eyes out of embarrassment, then lowered his head. His lips brushed my ear as he took my hand and guided it across the planes of his body, voice low and trembling with insecurity. Is my body not as good as his? Or am I not as handsome? Or is it that His hand guided mine lower, and my face flushed hot. My legs were already wrapped around him without me even realizing it. Sometimes male jealousy was devastatingly simple. A few days later, I took him back to the hospital for another checkup. After examining him, the doctor said, "The congestion in his brain is almost cleared. Just a few more days. Once the blood fully disperses, his memory should come back." A small sadness curled in my chest. My soft, clingy, easily flustered Liam was about to disappear. He caught me staring and frowned. "Why that face? Is it bad?" I shook my head. "It's good. It's just that you won't be my side piece much longer. You're about to go back to being my husband." I buried myself against his chest and completely missed the shadow that crossed his expression. He thought, her real husband is coming back soon. She doesn't want me anymore. He held on to me like he was afraid I'd vanish. A few days later, we had the launch event for the new collaboration. Oliver was there as the lead of his company's technical team. Since the media was broadcasting live, I kept my posture perfect and answered every question smoothly. Eventually, the reporters began circling toward my love life. "President Keller, you and your husband are considered one of the most loving couples in the business world. Did you discuss this collaboration with him beforehand?" That loving couple label still made me want to laugh. It all started in the second year of my marriage. We attended a banquet on a rainy night. The car was parked far, and I refused to walk in heels through muddy ground. So I said, "Carry me." He shot back immediately, "Did you break your leg?" "If you don't, I'll have Jordan do it." Jordan, our bodyguard, was standing right there. Liam clicked his tongue, got out, walked around, and picked me up. I held an umbrella over the both of us as he carried me inside, and that one snapshot went viral. People swooned, saying, "Rich families actually have love." If only they knew. Thinking about that moment now made me grin unconsciously. "My husband helps me strategize," I told the reporters. "In life and work, he supports me. I'm very grateful to him, and I love him very much." The confession slipped out before I could stop myself. As soon as the live stream ended, a wave of regret hit me because I could already imagine how Liam would tease me once he regained his memory. I had barely taken 2 steps backstage when Aunt Rose's number flashed repeatedly on my phone. My heart jolted. At the same moment, my assistant rushed over. "President Keller? President West is missing." Missing? When I called his phone, it was turned off. Aunt Rose explained that he'd watched my live stream, stared blankly afterwards, and then walked out without a word. Panic surged through me. I searched through every place he might have gone. None of his family contacted me. Then suddenly I remembered something. A place. A secret base. I rushed there as fast as I could. And there he was, sitting alone on the swing, looking heartbreakingly lost. My steps slowed. I crouched down in front of him, tilting my head up to look at him. When I reached for his hand, he pulled away.
Why did you come out here alone? I asked gently. His voice trembled. You won't divorce him because you really love him, right? You don't like me at all. I'm just a tool to you, aren't I? His lowered lashes trembled, grief gathering in his eyes like storm clouds. Something inside me clicked. Something I should have seen earlier. His memory was stuck at age 21. I finally saw it clearly. The piano. Was that why you bought the Steinway? Painting. Was it because you wanted to sketch with me? And scoring higher on the exam, was it because you wanted to attend the same university as me? I took his cold fingers in both of mine. You like me, don't you? Tears clung to his lashes. I can't like you anymore, he whispered, voice breaking. You don't like me at all? A sharp ache pierced my chest. I stood and gently pulled his face against my waist. He wrapped his arms around me tightly, desperately, his warm tears seeping through my clothes. His voice was choked with helpless heartbreak. What do I do? What do I do so it won't hurt this much? I ran my fingers through his hair, soothing him as best I could, though inside my heart ached at the sight of his tears. Men crying always had a way of making a woman's chest tighten, a natural pull, an unspoken vulnerability. Let's go home, I whispered softly. Come home with me, okay? He looked up at me, the outer corners of his eyes still tinged red from crying. His voice was low, hoarse, but somehow even more seductive than usual. That's not my home, he murmured. I leaned down, brushing my lips against his. My fingers traced his earlobe. Then come. Get in the car with me. The car counts too. And just like that, I coaxed him into the car and then into my arms, letting him lean against me as I cherished him completely. Half in a haze, I felt someone lift me and carry me home.
This time, it really wasn't me asking for it. The next morning, the sunlight spilled warmly across the room. I stretched lazily, feeling wonderfully satisfied. The warmth of the body beside me was intoxicating. I nuzzled into his chest, eyes still closed, murmuring, "Morning, morning." Something about that tone wasn't right. My eyes snapped open. Liam was propped on one elbow against the headboard, the other hand twirling the ends of my hair. Our gazes locked. That faint, knowing smile tugged at something deep inside me. Just like that, I knew I was completely doomed. I tried to scrabble away, but he pinned me gently, his touch both firm and possessive. "Afraid your husband will suddenly come back and catch me? You're a little side piece?" he teased, the words sharp and heavy. I chuckled weakly. "Honey, your memory's back. I missed you so much." "Cut it out," he said, voice soft but commanding. His nose was already drifting toward the tie of my pajamas. My mind did a quick check. Certain places were still sore. Another round was probably impossible. I gently pushed his head away. "What did I do?" I muttered internally. "I stayed by your side, taking care of you when you were sick, while some other people clearly fell for me long ago." He froze for a moment, looking slightly awkward. "Don't let it go to your head," he said softly. The gentle, easily bullied Liam I'd known was gone. I leaned back against his chest, our words flowing quietly as we rested against the headboard. Then it hit me. Maybe I'd missed him too. Missed this version of him, here and now. "Then why didn't you confess to me back then?" I asked. His tone darkened. "Weren't you in love with your perfect upperclassman at the time?" "Hey, don't be jealous of him," I teased lightly. "If it weren't for him, we might not have gotten married so fast. How's that?" After our breakup, I had gone through a rough patch. I drowned my sorrows until I collapsed on the steps. Then, a familiar face appeared, blocking out the starry sky. Liam's hand touched my forehead, concern etched in every line. For the first time in ages, I was calm. I brushed his hand away gently. "Liam, my love is dead. Understand that." He crouched above me. "So what if your love's dead? Big deal." Easy for him to say. When I woke up, I was lying in my own bed. My mother peeked in. "What happened last night? You were completely drunk." Liam had said I'd been chasing him, biting at his heels. Pure slander, of course. But I couldn't help picturing his amused, teasing eyes, that faint, careless smile.
So what if your love's dead? He had said in the night. Oh, fine, I thought silently, matching his tone. Then let your love die too. I grabbed my mom's hand. Actually, I like Liam. Can you talk to the West family about a marriage alliance? The Wests had always been fond of me. Surely they'd agree. Wouldn't Liam be furious? Cry, scream, threaten to throw himself off the balcony? I couldn't help smiling at the thought. The next day, the West family's reply came. They agreed. When would you like to hold the wedding? The macaron in my hand slipped to the floor. I had gone too far. Way too far. What now? I had been the one to propose the marriage alliance. How could I turn back without Liam teasing me forever? The wedding day arrived in a blur. It wasn't until we exchanged rings that I snapped back to reality. I whispered, "Why didn't you refuse?" His expression flickered, just a hint. "Didn't you want to disgust me?" A wicked little tug at his lips, and he leaned close. "Let's see who ends up disgusting whom. When you cry and throw a fit about divorce, I won't agree." The priest's vows floated over us, for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, until death do us part. I poked him lightly. "So, should we thank Oliver?" He gave a soft hum. "I suppose you could say that." He rose to get dressed, the sunlight pouring in through the window, highlighting his broad shoulders, straight posture, and flawless skin. His black hair glinted deep brown in the morning light. I couldn't resist. I pounced, wrapping my arms around his waist. Then a question popped into my mind. "Back in freshman year, that girl who asked for your WeChat, did you give it to her?" He squinted, fox-like, a teasing smile on his lips. "Not telling you." I gasped. "But back then?" He pointed through the crowd at my retreating back. "See her? That's the girl I like."